Welcome back to another podcast. Sat next to me is a very, very special guest, my Ireland captain and current Huddersfield Giant, George King. What is the message?
Well, obviously, thanks for having me on, Ronan. I've seen obviously some of your clips on Insta; they're absolutely fantastic. So your podcast is obviously going really well. But obviously, it's a pleasure to be on. And like you say, serious message. I'm doing all right. Family doing great. Hopefully, I'm back this week. I'm really looking forward to the challenge, and it's been a long time coming. Obviously, with my injury. But yeah, no, it's been a long time. Obviously, since I've seen you, since we played up in Newcastle. Obviously, we had good fun there. We won, didn't we? So yeah, no, it's been a long journey, obviously, since then. But I'm glad to be here and talking with you and seeing you again with a smile. And you just made an absolutely stunning coffee, a serious coffee.
Serious blend message. Georgie, tell us a little bit about that. Obviously, training injury. You just signed to Huddersfield, new contract, new team, and you get a training injury, which is at a worst kind. For anyone who doesn't know, like if you get injured in training, like it's so frustrating, isn't it? When obviously, any injury is frustrating, but getting injured in a training session is about as frustrating as it gets. Tell us a little bit about what you've done and obviously your rehab since that injury. You said getting back into it now against your old team against KR this week, but that'll be the weekend just gone by the time this podcast gets released. But tell us a little bit about your injury.
Yeah, no, obviously it was frustrating. I've obviously just signed at my hometown club in Huddersfield, and it was my first training session, so I've just got to know people and. You know what it's like when you first join a club. You know you're anxious. You obviously want to get your front foot forward. So I'm in that element of trying to do everything right and trying to do the right things. And sadly, we were just doing a scenario in training, and my foot just literally planted out inwards, outwards, north, south. You can pretty much every direction going. So yeah, no, but I had a good medical team around me, and they really helped me out, and the boys did as well. So I'm really thankful for them. So it's been one journey, but it's not just the element of doing your actual injury, but it's the journey that you make, and things like that behind the scene. And my family were great, supportive. So yeah, no, I'm really glad now, obviously, to be back out there and really do the town of Huddersfield proud.
100%, and I think it's obviously credit to your professionalism being able to bounce back from such a bad injury. I remember the boys told me at the time, like their description was your foot looked like it was on backwards. would that be a correct?
Yeah, pretty much.
Without being too vulgar.
But I tell you what though, I was in so much pain. This is the scenario. Like I was in so much pain. Like when it actually happened, it was so powerful that even though when it happened, I had people around me, I had players around me holding my head, making sure I was breathing right. Obviously the physio's constantly talking to me. So even in that line, that darkest moment, it was really powerful. That helped me get through it because you got other players as well. So it was collectively, even though it was my injury, the team, really helped me out with that.
Yeah, 100%, and that's the importance of having good people around you, isn't it?
Yeah,
they're sort of there for you. Obviously, talking about your hometown club. Full circle moment, really. Obviously, ended up back at Huddersfield. You're a Huddersfield lad through and through. So, growing up in the Meltham area and that kicking ball with your old man from a young age. Did you ever think you were going to end up playing for Huddersfield? I'm sure at one stage you didn't know if that was ever going to be the case.
No. It wasn't, but it was certainly an ambition. I grew up watching Huddersfield when I was 6, 7, 8 years old, and I used to watch the legends of Steve McNamara, who's now at Catalan coaching, and Stanley Jean and. Obviously Earl Crabtree, so players like that, were my sort of idols when I was growing up. Obviously Tony Smith was the coach at the time as well, so I remember. I think it was like the Buddies Championship back then, and they needed to win then, to go up and go up to Super League. And I remember. I think it were at Widnes, so I remember as a kid going and watching that, and that were pretty cool. But that's about 20 odd years ago when I certainly picked up the ambition, obviously wanted to come and play for Huddersfield.
Love that. I love that. So it was always destined nearly, wasn't it? It was always destined to come full circle. Tell us a little bit about growing up as a teenager, obviously, and then you get called into scholarship and academy and the decisions around that, because obviously my journey and yourself was a little bit different and we crossed paths very early in my journey. But tell us a little bit about yours first.
Yeah, so I'd say my scholarship academy journey started when I was about 12, 13. Pete Riding, he was the head of youth at the time. He came and had a look, and I think it were a high school game. So I was playing high school in the national cups competition, and he came and spotted me, and like some of the stuff that we did, and in that sort of circle of group that we had at that school, quite a few got picked up from the scholarship and academy, and so my actual journey at Huddersfield started in the scholarship and academy. So I went through the years through there, and when I were about 17, 18, I got to a point where I felt like, is this for me? And Huddersfield had an element as well, is they're not quite sure if they want to pick me up on going first team. So that's when I decided I needed to make a move, and I ended up moving to Warrington with Toby.
And that was the start of when your career kicked on.
I think it was roughly around that period as well, where after a couple of years, that's when you came over, didn't you, and visited as well?
Yeah, so both you and Toby were at Warrington when I first come over. So for those of you who don't know, obviously me and George, teammates at Ireland for a long time now, but even before that, I came over with 3 other lads from Ireland. So there was myself and three other young kids came over to Huddersfield for a week, just to sort of be in a Super League academy environment, train, and I actually stayed with George's parents. Yeah. So shout out Andy and Hannah. You looked after me really, really well. So that was my first experience. I met George and Toby, and the whole family welcomed me, and obviously that Irish connection. But regardless of that, they looked after me so well. So myself and 3 other lads actually came over and spent a bit of time in Huddersfield. Luckily, after that, I went back home to Ireland. I was just playing rugby union still and a bit of rugby league, but there wasn't a hell of a lot being played in Ireland, as you're very well aware. And then I got the call, and I told your old man, I told you, I'm getting a trial at Huddersfield. And that was off the back of spending that week there. It was only me who got asked to come back. And here we are, 7 years on from that trial.
But honestly, the journey that you've done is absolutely fantastic. And just picking up on what my mum and dad as well, not only have they opened the house, for you and for others to come and, experience rugby league over in this country, but I've made family and friends from around the world as well, because they've opened up their house to, foreign students that have come over. So I've got connections now in America, in Brazil, so some in Germany as well. So it's pretty cool that my mum and dad have done that in the past, because it's opened our eyes to different worlds, really.
100%, and they are so welcoming. And what a good family. You can see that family connection through every time you are all together. You can see that, and it's massively important. Was there Serbians at one stage? Were they playing at Warrington?
Yeah, we had Stefan and Stephen. I think they played for Belgrade, and they came on trial. Tony Smith brought them on trial, and gave them an opportunity. And big lads. Probably the biggest rugby league lads I've probably ever witnessed. I hope they're doing really well, actually. I'd like to touch base with them, because I know that in Serbia it's growing quite well, isn't it?
It's massive. Yeah,
I know maybe since COVID things might have taken a hit, but I know for a fact that they're doing quite well. So it'd be nice to touch base with them too, because obviously I know they've got a good story to tell.
Yeah, it's a mad old world, the rugby league connection. Like we played the under-19s European Championship in Belgrade way back 2018, and like it's kicking on there, and it's a random place for rugby league to be I suppose growing, but I think that's sort of the beauty of the game, isn't it? And also a lot of Australian heritage through Serbia and places like that, so it's crazy. Tell us a little bit about that family connection growing up, like your brother, your oldest brother as well. You're the middle, eh?
I'm the middle.
You're the middle. So you're older, and then obviously Toby, the youngest one, got all the looks, eh, Georgie? But tell us a little bit about that, growing up playing rugby in life as well, and that family dynamic, because you're a real close family, obviously. Meltham. Huddersfield.
Yeah, Meltham through. So yeah, no, good family dynamics. I mean, don't get me wrong, every family has their ups and downs. You know what I mean? We have some dark days, and but collectively, we're really strong. I see my mum and dad nearly every other day. The great nana and granddad to me, my grandkids. So it's nice. It's lovely. Like I say, like growing up, you've obviously got my older brother Adam, who lives down in London, soon to be married. Hopefully in Naples, but he's during next year, so I'm hoping that Robbo gives me a few days off.
Robbo gives him some time off.
So yeah, that being Naples, so I'm really looking forward to that wedding. It should be really good. So yeah.
Massively exciting. What was it like when you and Tobes both moved across to Warrington?
Yeah, well, I was fortunate because that move probably wouldn't have happened if Toby wasn't at Warrington. So I was really fortunate that Toby was already there at Warrington because it made the move a hell of a lot easier. And it probably helped in the sense that it was do or die really for me. If I didn't take this opportunity, rugby league just wouldn't be anymore really. I'd certainly have had to go back down to amateur and work my way up again. But so yeah, I was fortunate Toby were there. But what we're really pleasing and really good is because me and Toby have always had a good relationship. Is we could, if one of us had a bad game, we'd tell each other, or if one of us, played really well, would praise each other as well. So we rubbed each other like that. So it were really good, and it were powerful, and we both signed first team at the same time. So not many brothers tend to do that, if any. It were really good. That Tony Smith gave us the opportunity, both of us at the same time.
Yeah, and obviously then that's when you and I crossed paths for the first time. I come over to Huddersfield, I do my trial, and then come 2018, me and you, well, I'm making my Ireland debut in the European Championships, qualified for the World Cup. I'm baby-faced 18-year-old, still got braces. And I have to say, looking back on that.
Was your debut, was it Scotland or was it France?
Scotland, yeah. I played in all 3 games. And, for context, I played 5 academy games. There's no way in hell I should have been playing in those games. Yeah. But I was thrown in the deep end, and sometimes ignorance is bliss, you know what I mean? Sometimes because you don't know how far off you are, you just go out there and just try to do your thing. But it was crazy. Well,
you're a great success story. I mean, from you making your Scotland, because not many players come out from Ireland and make the journey that you have. So we're on this podcast now, and I really want to bless the message. But we need more of you. Making your debuts and having the sort of success in the professional ranks, and it's fantastic to see.
Yeah, no, well, hopefully the game can continue to grow.
Remember that game? No, it was great. Great game.
I just remember us celebrating that last try
because I think it was Casey done. Didn't he say that I'd put a grand behind the bar or something if we won by so much?
Yeah. And then we were celebrating. The commentary's gas on that clip, obviously. So yeah, Casey said he put a bit of money behind the bar if we won by whatever amount of points. So Finney put up that bomb. Higgy caught it. We're all celebrating, and the commentary's like, look at Ireland, they're celebrating their last try like it was their first.
Was that the year where, were it under Stu or were it Matt? It was Stu, wasn't it? Yeah, I think Stu. He nominated me for sheriff. I think it was that year. He nominated me for sheriff to go around and collect all fines off everybody. And I think we raised about 1,500 to go out into Dublin with. Don't get me wrong. 1,500 in Dublin gets everybody 2 pints each, but it helped, didn't it? But
I don't think I paid for a beer that night.
It was hard work collecting money off the boys, but it made a good laugh.
Worth it in the end. They're the best dues, aren't they? When you look back on it, I think we're well overdue a trip into Dublin now.
That's what I love about the international is we don't get paid for it, So we're all there because we want to be there and we want to do the shirt proud. Yeah. So and they're the sort of moments that you live for. Is that sort of environment, where you really work hard, you're not getting paid for it. We can all go out and have a good time with each other and, obviously do the business on the field and, and do our due course and,
work hard, play hard kind of vibe. When was your Ireland debut? 2016 against Russia, was it? Or was it before that?
No, it was the game before, which was against Spain. So,
away?
Yeah. In Valencia, yeah.
Good trip.
Yeah, great trip, fantastic trip. No, it was. I don't think we'd qualified for the World Cup before, so we needed 2 games to qualify for the 17 World Cup in Australia. So we needed to beat Russia and Spain. So I made that. They were my first 2 games.
Well, I remember. So that Russia game that was out in Bray. So that was the first time I'd ever made contact with rugby league in Ireland. Yeah. So as far as I believed, up until this point, I knew what the NRL was, I knew Sonny Bill and players like that who'd become rugby union players. That's all I know, Ben Teo, Sonny Bill, that's all I knew. And then obviously we find out rugby league's played in Ireland. It was probably October, November. They say the season's not starting until next year, but come watch this game. And we were out in Bray watching it. No idea what was going on, no idea who we were watching. We were just this is sick. Obviously picked it up then during my year off rugby union. And that's when it sort of kicked on from there. So while I was learning what this game was, you were out in Australia, 2017 World Cup. I think I'd argue it was a really successful World Cup won 2 from 3 in the group and didn't get out of the group, which is really bizarre because of whatever way it was structured that year.
Yeah, no, it was so frustrating because obviously we run P&G so close as well, and I think if we would have been a little bit better in certain areas, being probably a little bit more structured, I think we'd definitely have got over the line as well. But just the whole week, the whole 3-4 weeks in Australia was fantastic. Mentioned about P&G, but the whole week in P&G, wow,
Insane.
so good, insane. Just real eye opener, but positive in a way. You know, when you've got kids that got a note on the backs, you know, and they're really pleased if you give them something, and giving a little bit back. And we went to a local school, and it was like one building shared between about 250 kids. They got a stream with everything going through it, rubbish and whatnot. And and there must have been about 400 kids turned up to this promotion that we was doing, for the World Cup, and giving out tickets and things like that. And the smiles on the faces, it was just absolutely unreal. And to learn about different cultures and the way of living were really, really good, really powerful. And I'd love to do something similar again, and with Ireland as well, especially.
It puts it into perspective, doesn't it? Sometimes
it does.
when I feel like when we're in the day-to-day grind, especially when you're deep in season and bodies are sore, you can often find yourself in that mindset where you're just like, geez, this is tough. It's if you've lost the game, or you're just feeling a little bit flat, and then sometimes you need to flip that frame of mind, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
I get to do this for a living. I get to play rugby, go to the gym. Like, people dream of this. Like, these lads are, like you said, they just love a shirt on their back. They don't care what team it is. They don't care about anything. And then we're getting to do this every day, day in, day out, week in, week out, as our job. So sometimes you just need to go, geez, what a blessing it is to be tired, to chase your dream. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%. Like I say, there were kids that were walking miles on end, just to come and have a glimpse at our training sessions. And, it was just a run through, it was 20-30 minute run through, and you got kids, trying to scale buildings just to come and have a look and, visual their eyes. And we're just, normal fellas from Northern England, you know what I mean? So it were absolute terrific experience. And, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
really enjoyed it.
I think without getting too emotional about the future, I'm very, very gutted that 2026 there won't be an Ireland team featuring in the next World Cup, because I made my World Cup debut in 2022, and the best moment of my life.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
I know, definitely. It's obviously very frustrating, isn't it? The elements of other factors within the Ireland organisation that affects the men's game, because I thought the men's game we were doing okay, we was organising it all right, but because we haven't affiliated other sections, where we haven't affiliated enough amateur team success over in Ireland, 16s, 18s, the women's game, although the women's game I do think is getting a little bit better. It affects the men's, and why it does that, I do not know why. I feel like we've obviously been punished for that. However, it's happened now. What can we do about it? We've just got to keep growing the game stronger, and hopefully, not 26 World Cup, the next World Cup we can apply and be successful again.
Hopefully still be lacing the boots up by then, GKA. Yep. But no, honestly, as you said, it's a frustrating time. When the announcement came that we wouldn't be able to qualify, I was absolutely heartbroken. Obviously, it's a massive passion of mine playing for my country. It's the best ever. Same as you getting the captain wear that green jersey. It's the best time of the year, isn't it? But it is something that we can't dwell on too much, I think. And obviously things are going to continue to build. And as long as you and I keep flying that flag, it's gonna go well. No doubt about it. We'll loop back to go forward, I guess. Post Warrington, head off to Wakefield. Little bit of a different time in your career, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, we're obviously got to a stage at Warrington where I felt like I needed a challenge. I needed something new. Don't get me wrong, I was leaving a very good team in Warrington, so I thought I'm going to be ambitious here. I'm going to change, because Warrington did offer me a contract, but I felt, you know what, I'm going to take a risk. Really try and push on my career. So I decided to sign at Wakefield for a couple of years. Did okay first year, in and out, couple of injuries, but probably didn't have the kickstart that I really wanted. I fault of mine, probably wasn't quite there. Probably didn't suit the sort of team ethics or team environment, and that happens sometimes. And I'm not going to say that it were a total disaster. I thought I did relatively okay, so came out of it okay, so it wasn't too bad. But then COVID hit, and then I had the opportunity. Tony Smith rang me and said, "Would you like to come and sign for a couple of years and and kickstart your rugby league career, and go from there?" And although it was a tough period, was COVID, because I just bought a new house. And I'm out of contract, so I just had a new house. Nobody knew what were happening. I was very fortunate that Tony Smith was at KR and had that trust in me to come and hopefully turn things around.
Yeah, for sure. And how important do you think it is, that dynamic of how you fit into the team? You know what I mean? So obviously you've had a pretty long career now, and still a few more years ahead of you, no doubt about it. But the importance of that for people who don't really know about it, of like how your role fits into the team, because you often see it happens all the time in this sport. Like, it's not necessarily the player, it's just the role and the dynamic of that certain team, and then they move on to a different team and you see the momentum comes again, or a coach plays them in a slightly different way with a slightly different role. How important do you think that is, to have that, like, one clarity of role and like to fit into the team dynamic of what it is you're asked to do?
I mean, I go back to probably like playing with Ireland, and so when you've got so many players from different ethics and backgrounds all coming together and trying to come into an environment where it's obviously different, how do you get the best out of each other? Because we don't have the time, we probably don't have the facilities. So how do we get the best out of each other to make the outcome the best we can possibly can? And I probably felt like at Wakefield, we didn't have the elements, because we didn't have obviously the training facilities, and obviously they didn't have the infrastructure and the money at the time, and it probably just caught up with them in the end. And I felt like me going into there, I wanted to prove that I can basically prove it wrong, that you can, your mindset of being able to prove it wrong, and it probably just got on top of me where we probably culturally didn't fit. And that's probably why I probably needed to make that change, really.
Yeah, for sure. And I think your environment is everything, whether you realise it or you don't. Your environment is everything, and eventually it catches up at you. It catches up to you. You can do it for a season, you can do it for a year, you can have a decent run, but eventually you're like the higher quality environments, they stick out. Do you know what I mean? And that separates the top from the bottom of any league in any sport. The quality of environment and the quality of cultures. Like, it's a huge difference, and you often hear the most successful teams and coaches talk about culture. They don't talk about players. They don't talk about quality of signings, because that's a given.
Yeah, and there's another flip side as well, because when I joined Hull KR, when I walked in the change room, they were rock bottom. We were rock bottom. I think there were about 5-6 games left of the season when I joined on loan till the end of the year. Then we're going to sign on another 2 years, and I walked in the changing room, and Jesus, there were about 4 or 6 different pockets, and I didn't even know where to sit in this change room, because everyone was just so separate. No one talked in that corner. No one talked to that corner. No, he didn't like him, and it was just unbelievable, like, sort of environment. I've almost gone from one environment to the other, and I'm thinking, oh my God, you know what I mean? And what on earth happened, I don't know. But the pre-season after, something just made a couple of signings, made a good, couple of signings, and something just happened miraculously, and we had a really good pre-season, and I can't put thought around it, and really at the start of the year, everyone pitched us at finishing rock bottom again.
Yeah,
and we just felt like we couldn't do that again, so we'll just all have to just keep working hard for each other. And that pre-season, something just flipped and it just changed, and we just managed to grow and grow and grow. And it's actually been quite a successful story from that journey, from where KR are now. So it's actually pretty impressive.
Yeah, and it goes to show as well that, like, as an individual, you can make a choice to be positive, and you can make a choice to do the right thing. And all it takes is 10 people to not make that choice, to pollute an environment, to pollute a team. Do Do you know what I mean? All it takes is, like you said, a few pockets and a few clicks, and then the whole team morale's just in. But on the flip side of that, all it takes is every individual to go, I'm going to have a red hot crack and buy in.
Yeah.
And like you said about the Ireland commitments, like we don't have facilities, money, structure, but we have whoever comes in, whether that's 21 people, 70, you have a load of blokes who are dipping into their off season. So you look around and I look at you and everyone else, and even the lads who fly over from Malta go, you're like giving up your off season to have a dig here. So that's why I really don't care. And like there's these shit conversations all the time about like homegrown, domestic. I'm like, people are giving up their time to come and play for the jersey, and that's all that matters. But that's what crafts that culture in Ireland, and that's where, like, obviously Jed took over from Stu as the head coach, and Jed then spent a lot of time with me at York, and I had a lot of like good times at York, and I had some times when I was really, really out of form and I wasn't even being selected. And like what Jed always said to me is like when I lined up against the Kiwis, or when I've played for Ireland, he just instilled full confidence in me to go and do my thing. Yeah. And that's when I played my best rugby with a weight on my shoulder of having to do that. But I think that environment element is so key, isn't it? It's having that buy-in from people. That doesn't matter who you're with. You just buy in and have a dig for each other.
It is, and it's really good. And to tell you what was pleasing is that when we did play Scotland up in Newcastle, we had so many good young kids coming through, and we had a lot to learn off them as well. They brought loads of experience as well from, wherever they were playing, and, I learned off them as well, so it was really good, really pleasing. We obviously had some really good experienced lads. So when you've got that mixture, like you say, it is really powerful, and like I say, we need more success stories like yourself and, other players that obviously played in Scotland, and hopefully they can kick on in their professional careers, and we can really build it here at Ireland. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, for sure. I think that you look at that team that faced Scotland, and you just have to you just look at the characters. You go from like blokes who've like Harry's played in the NRL, like you have blokes who played Super League week in, week out, and then you're lining up like next to someone who's complete amateur from back home, and like I think Hoggy's a mad old story, like
it's a good story, isn't it?
He's obviously over at Keighley now. He's moved across the pond, but like the crack with Hoggy's 90. He listens to the podcast as well, but like good. I think he'll be laughing at this. But like seeing him take the plunge is hectic, and he was Keezy's back rower, and like obviously Keezy, well experienced, played for Ireland loads of times, and very successful player. And like you have Hoggy then, who's just an amateur player come across from Ireland, but he's carving his own path out for himself, and that they're the things you love to see. So like I think it's one of them ones that it doesn't matter what age you are or where you come from, if you're willing to have a dig, more often than not, like things are going to fall into place for you, aren't they?
No, they are certainly, and I really do hope that we can get a few games this year, because really, obviously, we want to be kickstarting, don't we? Where we want to be playing, the ultimate in the World Cup, and these competitions. So we really want to be a part of it, but obviously, the element of we got to do it on the field, haven't we? So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, for sure. Tell us a little bit about that growth through Hull KR. Obviously, you come in, bottom of the table, no one's expecting anything of you, and then you've been part of that sort of momentum that's continued into the set top of the league right now, but it's continued into this Super League season. But you've been part of that journey where KR have gone from like they've gone from, let's say, let's call a spade a spade. KR were the weaker Hull team to sort of flipping that over the past couple of years, and now they're obviously sat top of the table. So no FC fans can be mad at me for saying they're the stronger team right now. But obviously it's been on that curve of exponential improvement. What was that like going through the years of KR and obviously snowballing that momentum? What was that like, obviously, for you? And obviously you're coming into your more senior years then as well. So you've grown as a player throughout that time, from being at Warrington to Wakefield to then being at KR. What was it like coming into an environment and watching it change season to season?
Yeah, no, it was really nice, really good journey, and it was such a good, well-run family club as well. My family really welcome, so I felt really at home there. And that first year, the first full year, it was during COVID, so we didn't have any fans, and I don't know if that was probably a little bit of an element of the pressure being taken away, because we were rock bottom that year. So the pressure got taken away a little bit because there were no fans there. So the pressure was taken off us to perform, if that made sense. And we ended up growing and growing. And when the fans came back, oh my God, we just went another level the year after. So yeah, no, it was really good. Like we had really good experienced players, in obviously Ryan Hall, Sean Kenny-Dowell, Elliot Minichella, Kane Lynette. So we had really, and Matt Parcell. I couldn't name names, but across the board, so we had a really good ethics of working hard for each other. And when we had some really good young kids coming through as well, like look at Mikey now, absolutely star. So yeah, no, it was terrific. It was really good, really pleasing, and we had some really good moments as well. Like I remember when were it? The Warrington semi-final. The semi-final. And then we had to go and play Catalan away, but we ended up losing that. But nobody gave us a chance. I remember that. Absolutely everyone written us off. I wouldn't be surprised if most of the fans were probably written us off, and fairly so. Because I think we were down to the bare bones. I think we only had 17 fit players, about 14 injuries. And we ended up turning them over 19-0. You know what I mean? It was absolutely terrific. And when you're living in them moments and you're on such a high and on a journey of upwards, you really appreciate the the dark days. But yeah, no, they were certainly the good days.
Yeah, you have to go from rock bottom, I suppose, to enjoy the fruits of your labour for sure. It was a bizarre time playing behind closed doors, wasn't it?
Yeah, no.
I obviously made my Super League debut behind closed doors. I think the first half of 2021 it was sort of behind closed doors, and then it started opening up. Was it? If I remember right, I can't really remember, to be honest. It seems so long ago. I remember going up to KR. I think it was Friday. I want to say it was a Friday night, and I was 18th man. So I warmed up. This was before 18th man could actually play. So if you were 18th man, you were 99% guaranteed you weren't going to play unless someone pulled up in the warm up, which, geez, very unlikely. So I warmed up, went in. I jumped in the shower when the lads were doing the team talk. Walk out. We were 4-6-0 down. I think Ben Crooks scored off the kickoff, like the quickest try ever in Super League. I think it was Ben Crooks. I came out and I was like, "Oh my god, this is good. This is going to be a long. This is going to be a long evening."
I think it was Sam Wood, wasn't it? What, fumbled the ball or something like
that. Yeah. It'll be fuming. You've dropped it. You've dropped him in it now. Yeah, bizarre. Yeah, they were strange times. Obviously now, after your career at KR, you've now signed at Huddersfield, full circle. You're back playing your old team this weekend.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, all being wood.
Touch wood. Well. All being well.
Look forward to that.
And that'll be exciting. It'll be exciting for sure. Tell us a little bit about those days, though, because obviously, stubborn man, George, aren't you? You didn't leave Huddersfield when you were playing at KR. You were still driving. What were them days like from get up to get home? Obviously, young family, Mrs. Kids at home.
Have we got enough time on this podcast?
I was admirable of what you were doing. Like I was watching you do it. I was like, are you still doing that drive?
I know, yeah, no. It was. I can't deny it was a horrendous drive. But would I change anything? My element of a time at KR, no, I wouldn't. But it was funny, I had some really good travel companions that I made friends for life with. Obviously, some of them are Sam, Ethan, Rowan, Minnie, Stoz. But then, obviously, the last couple of years I was travelling with Niall as well. But, gee, there were some dark days. We were meeting at about 4 in the morning, to go and start training at 6:30. So get up at about 3:30, 4 in the morning. Oh, God. Giving me nightmares thinking about it now. But no, I suppose it's an element as well that I knew it was pre-season, where you have to change your mindset, to really dig deep, because obviously it'll help you throughout the season. But yeah, no, it was good. It was good. Funny and cruel at the same time.
Funny and cruel. What was that mindset shift like for you? How have you grown through that mindset? Because I know, like, obviously, my first pre-season at Super League, I was a third-year academy player. I just finished my trial sign, and they sent all the third-year academy players up. And my I reckon, like, looking back, 2020 hindsight, I probably thought at the time I had a decent mindset, but I think deep down as an 18-year-old, I was like, this is so fucking hard. Do you know what I mean? I was thinking, this is so hard. I'm just getting bashed the whole time. I kept losing weight. In pre-season, I kept losing weight, but I didn't have weight to lose because I just not done it before. We were running so much. You know how much you have to eat in pre-season to just stay on top of things. But like, what was that mindset shift, and how was that grown throughout your career from when you were obviously young kid coming through Huddersfield to going to Warrington to Wakey to KR? How was your mindset improved throughout your career?
I think certainly having kids and family gives you certainly a different perspective on life. So that certainly helps, and having good people around you, that's certainly important. My dad's not afraid to tell me if I've had a good game or a bad game, and
Straight talker.
Yeah, I've even got my father-in-law now, who is a straight talker, which is fantastic, and I absolutely love it. People aren't blowing smoke on my ass, so it's good, and obviously success is defined by cups and whatnot, but yeah, I've obviously lost a few finals, still to win a major trophy, but that's my ambition. That's why I rock up to training every day, and I certainly want to sign for Huddersfield if I didn't think that we could win trophies and kick on. Same at KR. When I talked about that pre-season, I just thought at the end of that pre-season, we could go on and do something special here. Why couldn't we get to a Wembley or a grand final? Could quite easily happen. So if we could just keep working hard and play it game by game, it can happen. And I think I'll go back to your message, and that's why I play the sport. Live for them moments, and it's not just the major trophies. It's that feeling in the changing room after a game when you've won a game. It's absolutely so powerful. It's hard to describe it, but if you don't play sport, but when you're in a gladiator sport like rugby league, and you're giving everything, you're giving all your effort, and you're rewarded for it with a really good performance and a win. It's powerful. It makes you want to strive for more, and that's what you want, and we certainly had that in bucket loads at KR, which I'm really pleased about, and that's what we're trying to build here at Huddersfield.
Yeah, I think the be all and end all is winning. Winning's the best. Winning's why you play the sport.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great that it's our job. It's great that we get to stay fit and we get to play rugby because we love it. But I think we love it because you can win. If there was no result, if the game finished with no scoreboard and no one was counting, it wouldn't be near as fun.
No.
And I think you're in it to win things. Everyone wants to win some silverware. You touched on it there. Obviously, you've lost a few finals. What was that like? How did you pick yourself back up? Because I know I was still at Huddersfield in 2022 when they lost the Challenge Cup final. I wasn't really involved. I wasn't anywhere close to the team. I was rehabbing an injury, but I was around the boys when they went through that, and it's hard. It's horrendous, really, actually. But what was it like when you've actually been on the field and gone through that emotional roller coaster with people for a year, and then you end up in a grand final, and then you just fall that little bit short?
Yeah, no, it's obviously devastating, especially when you give so much, throughout the season, and you're so close, and you're giving everything, and that's probably an element as well. Is if you've given everything, you can sort of live with it, if that makes sense. If you haven't given everything, or you've left some, you left some in your tank, you kind of have regret. Certainly one final, probably the Catalan game, where Warrington, we probably underestimated him, and we probably didn't put our best effort forward, and we had so much regret. But on the flip side, when we played FC and we gave absolutely everything, and FC were brilliant on the day, we were very disappointed, don't get me wrong, but we could hold our hands up and just say, FC beat us on the day, we gave everything, fair enough. We probably just didn't take our moments and key moments, where that Ben Curry try, for instance. Kurt Gidley, I think, missed the conversion not far out, but it's a team sport, you know what I mean? And it's an element of where we just didn't have that 1%er, but yeah, that's probably how I define it, really, is try and leave everything out there so you don't have too much regret, and then make sure you just bounce back the week after, and get a win and get that sort of feel again.
100%. And I think that that motto is how I've tried to live my life and my career as best I can thus far. I think when I came over on trial, 2018, just finished my exams, I had nothing to lose. Everyone was telling me, go to university, get your UCAS done, get your CAO done, get applying for your university, pick a real job. That's what everyone said, pick a real job. Rugby's not a career. But I came on trial at Huddersfield and I said, if I go home after this trial, I want to know I didn't leave a stone unturned. Yeah. That's all I wanted. I wanted to go to bed at night knowing I left no stone unturned, that I trained the house down, that I slept when I should sleep, that I ate all the right stuff. To my knowledge, because obviously as I look back 7 years on, my knowledge has improved. Obviously, I've become big into my health and my fitness as an online coach and a personal trainer. But all that I wanted to do was go to bed at night knowing I left it all there.
Yeah.
And that's all you can do in a grand final. That's all you can do with this career, because like, you're the only person that has to look in the mirror at the end of the day. Well, and that's in everything in life. That's not just in rugby. You're the person who has to live with your own thoughts.
Yeah.
And you know if you've cut the corner, don't you?
No, you do. Certainly. Only, like you say, you know most, don't you? Your own body and physically and mentally. But I think as well is what sort of... So when I was at KR, obviously I'm thinking like how we're thinking right now, but there came to a point where an element of where I had to stop and think, I've got to think about others now, you know, where I've got to start thinking about my family, got to start thinking about my kids, because I can't just, you know, thinking about me. Am I being selfish here by staying? So that's probably the move that I made for Huddersfield, but I've still got that same mindset in me, but I've just had to think about my family first. And but yeah, no, you're absolutely spot on there. You know, you've got to think about yourself, you know, and not leave anything unturned, and give everything to what you really want in life. I think that's really massively important, because it will certainly help, and you'll have no regrets.
Yeah, for sure. I think all you can do, like I said, all you can do is know that you left nothing behind. Once you've done that, you can go to bed at night and you can go, I gave that a red hot crack. That's all. That's all you have, because at the end of the day, you're the only person, like I said, has to live with the person in the mirror. Now that you're back at Huddersfield, what do your days look like in comparison to KR? A couple extra hours in bed, actually see the kids.
No, it's actually probably flipped. I actually probably can do a lot more, because obviously it's taking the travel out of it, which is massive. It ends up being 4 or 5 hours free during the day. So I really got into me swimming, outdoor swimming. Really helps me mentally. So me and my dad, we go off and we do a lot of outdoor swimming together. So I can do that sometimes before training. You know, I could never do that when I was at Hull. So you know, I'm up at about 6 a.m. You know, swimming with my dad. So that's really nice. That's really pleasing. You know, so I can certainly do a lot more extras. Spend a lot more time with my family and my friends, and that helps as well mentally. And I can invest more into my rugby as well, you know, so, you know, bring all the pressure on me, because if I'm doing more my rugby, hopefully it'll show on the field, so I'll keep working hard on that.
Hey, you know what they say though? The same boiling water that softens the potato hardens the egg, doesn't it? You know, so that's what they say, you know, precious for tires. Yeah, you have to give you something. I have to give you something. And where you doing the outdoor swimming? Reservoir?
I'll keep that a secret.
I'm going to incriminate you here.
Some places that you're not supposed to swim.
Some places that you're not supposed to swim. We're not incriminating Georgie, but I'll incriminate myself. Like, say, I used to love the reservoir swims. I remember, like, COVID. As I said, we couldn't, at one stage in COVID, we couldn't heat our food up at training in Huddersfield. So, like, there was no chance of an ice bath or even a shower at training. We weren't even allowed to shower. So what we were doing is we'd be there, just go jump in a reservoir somewhere in Huddersfield, undisclosed location, so I don't get in trouble.
No, I will say though, if you are going swimming outdoors, please take a float. Obviously it can be quite choppy sometimes, especially when I'm going in winter. Gee, it's a different ball game. Be safe, everybody. Be safe. No, it is. It's winter swimming. People don't understand how cold the water gets in the winter. Wow. It's insane. So in COVID again, after the 2020 season, I went back to Ireland and I did every day in December up till Christmas. So 25 days on the trot, and that was the coldest water. I do sunrise every day, so sun was rising a little bit later in December. It probably wasn't at 6 a.m. It was probably about 7 a.m. get up, or 7:30. Wow, that is cold, but it is the most invigorating thing. Coming out of that cold water, you feel amazing, don't you? Oh yeah, you do. No, I absolutely love it. You know, I've got me ice bath and the whole setup at home. I love me hot and cold therapy. It just helps me mentally. You know, it's the first thing I do in the morning is jump in that, and you know, I really enjoy it. It's nice because where I am in my back garden, you know, I can see a little bit of the elements as well. So it's obviously nice when you've got the you know, the wild as well. You know, so it's just nice, really, and it mentally, like you say, like yourself, although it's a different ball game when you in the height of winter, definitely. It's freezing. It's freezing. What other recovery methods or things are you doing sort of
as your career progressed, obviously you've had to stay on top of your body a little bit more. You pick up a couple more injuries,
Yeah.
and obviously the prehab list gets longer. I know myself. Like when I was 18, it was actually it's funny this because Jed came up to me when I was making my Ireland debut. I was just sat there. I wasn't doing I wasn't doing prehab or anything. I was just like I'd done a few stretches and he goes, "What are you doing, mate? Do you not have any prehab or anything to do?" And I was like, "Prehab." I didn't know what I honestly didn't know what he said it to me in the shed. I was like, I didn't know what he was talking about.
No.
Because I didn't have any pre-ab to do because I didn't have no injuries. I'd only played I only played 10 rugby league games in my life, maybe 5 academy games. But now obviously the list gets longer as you get a couple operations and you have a few niggles, and then all of a sudden you're an hour before the game you're already warming up and getting things sorted. But what kind of methods or what things have you implemented now as your career's gone on to sort of stay on top of your body and manage that mindset as well?
Yeah, no, certainly. Probably have to manage my diet a little bit more. I know you're laughing, but as I get older, I feel like it probably stores a lot easier.
Yeah.
So I definitely certainly probably have to cut down on the carb intake a little bit, more high protein sort of diet. That's something that I've had to probably implement a little bit, especially when you're around kids and they love the sweet snacks and the biscuits. It's hard just to, just grab it here. Have one biscuit, so you're having the full pack, So you got to be really careful. Obviously, we're around the kids because obviously they got the sweet tooth, haven't they? So got to be really careful. But probably an element of, like you say, like me outdoor water swimming. That certainly I take that up for granted with me recovery. I try to do 1-2 miles a week. Doing that, but the sauna, love going in the sauna, spending 15-20 minutes. So, the physical side of it is not an issue. It's not a problem. It's the constant. I like to change stuff up again now and again. Not get into a routine where you're doing the same thing over again. So for 8 weeks, I might do something completely different. And change it. So I'm not one of these what I've got to be strict in what you do in terms of recovery. Where I like to change it and broaden the mind, if you so to speak.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I used to be a slave to my routines.
Yeah.
And I've flipped that now. So much to the point that I used to be so ritualistic and say whatever, like right down to say, I don't know, say I had a protein bar the day before a game, right? That's added onto the list of the other 8 things that I need to do before a game. So all of a sudden but I'd say middle of 2023, I'd have to have this breakfast at this cafe at this time, and then go for this lunch, and then I had to have salmon and sweet potato for dinner, and then a beetroot shot, and then
just saying you got a root watch for both of.
Yeah, we're in the group together, aren't we? Ireland group. Yeah, well, I do love the whoop, but I'm not a slave to anything like that anymore. Like I've woke up on game days with 50% recovery. And it's not bothered me.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas before, if I seen that, my head would have been gone.
Yeah.
Do you know? Or if I had the slightest disruption to anything that my routine was, my head would I'd be that's a shit game for me. Do you know? And that's part of I suppose growing up, isn't it? And part of learning your body and learning the expectations. But I think if you're a slave to your routine, it's just so much mental pressure, isn't it? When you have so many things that you think you need to do. Like I'd be like, I have to sauna, then I have to do this, and I have to get a haircut and all this bullshit that does not matter at all. Does it? No. It literally makes no difference to how you play. But I have to have Star Mix. If I didn't have Star Mix jellies and I had jelly tots, you know what I mean? Nah, game's gone, ruined. For no reason, or if I didn't have the same flavor of energy drink, and it was all waffle, it was all just in my own head.
Oh, I've heard some right superstition stories. Probably the best one was what I've heard. Oh no, because I was playing with him. Yeah, I remember it. Is at Warrington, the Monaghan brothers. They used to, the day before the game. I don't know if it was day of the game. They used to have to go to a certain restaurant. And Michael Monaghan had to pick out Joe Monaghan's food. Like actually, even before that, they had to sit in the same table in the same restaurant. And then Michael Monaghan had to pick out Joe Monaghan's food. So it was strict at certain time of the day. So in an element of to be able to play well, psychologically.
Too much, isn't
absolutely madness. And then when we're in the changing rooms as well, Paul Wood has to get strapped from head to toe. And then he had to take it back off again and put it all back on again. And it's just an element of come on, don't you think you've got it a little bit too far?
It goes mad. I think Jimmy Meadows, I think he was telling us he used to have to put a penny in the same penny in his boot or in his shoe before, because he dropped it one time and played good, dropped the penny in his boot, and I was like, yeah, it goes crazy. I think what I realise is when you're in France playing in Toulouse, there's no good coffee shops. You can't get anything that you want. You're eating loads of white pasta and baguettes, and you like. That's when you realise like none of this routine matters. Like it genuinely doesn't matter, because
the sort of the best pros are the ones that can change and adapt.
Yeah,
and not getting sort of that. So some are really good at being superstitious and being able to do it. Some it takes over their lives, but some can be able to adapt. So, for instance, I think the teams what do so well when they go over to Catalan and play well is being able to adapt to obviously a new style and new culture, and just being able to go out there and get the job done, regardless of what gets thrown your way. So there's pros and cons to it, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. And I still get Nando's every week before a game. I still do it. But when I go to France, I realise that's not like, if I play shit in France, it's not because I didn't have my Nando's. To be honest, I just love getting a Nando's. It's my excuse to go get one, and I love it. I think that's it exactly. Like we went to Toulouse last year with York. We got there. We weren't staying in the Sporting Village. Have you played away in Toulouse when
I played, yeah.
And did you stay at the Sporting Village?
Yeah. We played there when it was about 40 degrees in heat.
Yeah. It's a hot place to go. But like the Sporting Village is all set up for athletes. You have your own room. There's a gym there and everything. And we got there, and for whatever reason, we weren't in Sporting Village. We get there, and there's a DJ, an outdoor pool. There's like people partying, and we were like, what is going on here? So it's so easy to slip up.
No,
it's so easy to slip up on those France trips. But it is an element of being able to adapt, and it's the same when we go to Spain away. Do you know what me and Keezy were on about this on one of the early podcasts? You go to Spain away, and your pre-game meal's a bowl of rice with a fried egg on top.
Oh yeah,
do you remember that?
And we had to walk about 3 miles, didn't we, to stadium?
Yeah, walk into the game with the tackle shields and that, in the heat. Like if you're not able to just put that behind you, you can get rattled easy as.
We laughed about it, didn't we? We laughed it off, and gee, we still didn't as a business on the field, but gee, we had a good night out of it, didn't we?
Oh,
which were great.
God, did we? I remember. The nights out at Ireland are always good. I left my keys to my flat in Spain, which was an absolute nightmare. When we've flown out of Alicante, so we were in Valencia, got the 2-hour coach or whatever to wherever we stayed, 2-hour coach to Alicante, and on these rugby trips you decide to get there about 3 hours early to the flight. So we've been 2 hours on the thing, 3 hours early on the flight, flown then to Liverpool, then we got a coach back to Wigan or Lee, and then you drove us back to Huddersfield, and I've been hungover all day, obviously after the big night out. Like I think I had about half an hour's sleep, and I get to me gaff and I go to get the keys out, and they're in bleeding Spain, and I'm like, oh my god, I have to ring the letting agent and get a new set of keys.
See, I'm not surprised by that.
What? What do you mean you're not surprised by that? Oh wow, I was hurting to say the least, and I sat in the middle row as well. I had Casey and Jed on either side of me, and I was in a world of pain. But listen, we qualified for the World Cup, so
we did.
That was all that mattered. But listen, if they're not the good times, don't even talk to me about the bad times. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Future wise, George, what's it looking like?
Expecting. Obviously, another baby, hopefully.
Exciting.
Born roughly September time. October time. So I've got that to look forward to. So another collection to the King family.
The King family.
Yeah.
Full rugby team soon.
I know. Yeah. So that'll be my fourth. So look forward to that. And obviously back playing this week. Hopefully all being well against me old club in KR. So I'm really looking forward to that challenge, because obviously they're going sky high at the minute. But we had a good performance last week, so we need to build off the back of that and really give KR a good game, and hopefully come away with a win if we really work hard and unsettle them, if you like. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, no, it's just taking it week by week really, as this season goes on, and hopefully we can organise some games with Ireland end of year.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, all being well, get a game over in Ireland, because that's so desperately needed.
Yeah,
we need to showcase our skills over there, don't we? And definitely get us front foot forward, and hopefully the International Rugby League grows and we get some more success stories like yourself.
Hey, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Finally, if you're talking to your younger self, for any young people who are listening now, what would you say?
What would I say to the
What is the younger version of George who's got a dream of playing pro? What would you say to him? What advice would you give him?
just keep at it, don't give in. Listen to your peers or listen to your people around you with more experience, and just really give it a good go. If you really want to really achieve, it doesn't have to be rugby. Do you know what I mean? A quick little story is my older brother. He wanted to be a solicitor and go down that route while still playing rugby and enjoying his life with, at uni. Do you know what I mean? So it's not all about just striving to be professional, but just striving to be a good person and just enjoying life.
I love that.
Yeah.
George King, that was a serious message. Thank you, my man.
No, thank you.